Welcome back, subbies, or welcome to our channel. If you are new, I am Sherry, and welcome to Talk on This. Guys, if you have not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit the subscribe button. Also, hit the notification bell for more videos just like this. Leave us a comment. We love comments on this channel. And also give us a thumbs up if you enjoy this episode today. All right, let's get right into this. Guys, I want to talk about the power and the authority of Jesus Christ. Christ is on the throne. We have to stay consistent in our prayer. We have to stay steadfast in our belief that Christ can do anything and all things and the impossible. We have to keep our spiritual hands towards heaven. Keep them up. Keep our spiritual hands towards heaven. Guys, I want you to listen to this passage from Exodus 17 and we'll get back and talk on
The
this.
Amalekites came and attacked the Israelites at Rephidim. Moses said to Joshua, "Choose some of our men and go out to fight the Amalekites. Tomorrow I will stand on top of the hill with the staff of God in my hands." So Joshua fought the Amalekites as Moses had ordered, and Moses, Aaron, and Hur went to the top of the hill. As long as Moses held up his hands, the Israelites were winning. But whenever he lowered his hands, the Amalekites were winning. When Moses' hands grew tired, they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat on it. Aaron and Hur held his hands up, one on one side, one on the other, so that his hands were steady till sunset. So Joshua overcame the Amalekite army with the sword. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Write this on a scroll as something to be remembered, and make sure that Joshua hears it, because I will completely blot out the name of Amalek from under heaven." Moses built an altar and called it, "The Lord is my banner." He said, "Because hands were lifted up against the throne of the Lord will be at war against the Amalekites from generation to generation."
From generation to generation, Satan desires to have God's people. He desires to kill, steal, and destroy God's chosen people from the time we are born, through our early childhood, through our early adulthood, well into our adult life and old age. Satan never gives up trying, but he cannot have God's chosen people. But he will continue to try. It is so important to keep your spiritual hands towards heaven. As Moses did, he kept his physical hands and the staff of God that represented God's power and authority at that time. He kept it towards heaven, and the battle was being won by the Israelites over the Amalekites. Just as Moses did in the physical, in the spiritual, it can happen to us by keeping our faith alive, keeping our focus on Christ and what is above, and not wavering in our faith is what causes mountains to move in our lives, is what causes victory in our lives. This is how we win over Satan and his evil schemes. This is what causes Christ to move in our lives, our faith. God works readily by faith. He can work regardless, but by faith is how he works, by our faith. This is what he looks at. And it's so important to keep our spiritual eyes towards heaven and our spiritual hands lifted high towards heaven and our focus on Jesus Christ. In Luke 22 31 to 32, Jesus gave an example of the importance of prayer. And he told Simon Peter, "Simon, Simon, indeed Satan has asked for you, that he may sift you as wheat. But I have prayed for you, that your faith shall not fail. And when you have returned to me, strengthen your brothers." Jesus Christ knew Simon Peter would waver from the faith. But he said, "I will pray for you. And when you have returned to me, strengthen your brothers." It's so important that we learn from Jesus Christ's example that prayer is so important when we see our loved ones falling by the wayside, when they are wavering in their faith, when they are being led astray, that we pray for them. Prayers, our prayers are so important in protecting our loved ones from the adversary. People would be surprised how many how many lives have been protected by the power of a loving person in their life praying over them and for them. The power of a prayer, of the power of prayer of a mother, you know, of a father for their children, you know, just praying for your parents, praying for your loved ones. Um, this is how Christ works, by your faith that you believe Christ will work in the lives of your loved ones, and you pray for Him to protect them and bring them back to the faith. And this is how God works. He works by faith, more readily by faith. It's so important that we learn from this example that Christ gave. You know, Satan desires to have our loved ones, he desires to have us, but we have to be consistent in our prayers. And I always say, hands to heaven, hands to heaven. When you are holding your spiritual hands to heaven and you do not waver, this is when you are winning in your life. Satan just wants a small crack for him to work, you know, a small lack of faith, and he will just come in like a flood, casting doubt and insecurities in your life, tempting you and causing you to doubt what is good. And this is why it's so important to keep our spiritual hands towards heaven and focused on Jesus Christ at all times, because Satan never stops trying to defeat us. He never stops. He is constant 24/7. And it's so important to always stay in faith and to always pray for yourself and your loved ones. Prayer is so important, and people aren't aware of how important prayer is in moving mountains in our lives and in the lives of our loved ones. How important it is in overcoming illnesses and overcoming the attacks of Satan. How important it is. Prayer is important in protecting people from temptation and from just keeping people stable, mentally stable, physically stable, and healthy. And it's all about prayer and all about faith. And God works readily by faith. This is our superpower, and we have to remember this. Anyway, guys, until the next video, hands to heaven, keep faith alive.